Ready? Okay, so you guys loved the full face of like my flawless base or whatever that I did. So, and I asked you if you wanted to see a drugstore version, and it was like insane how many of you were like, dude, duh, give it to me. So that's what we're doing today. I'm also going to be using drugstore brushes. Brushes. I mean, I am going to be using a drugstore blush, but like, you know, did I get a blush? Oh, I did. Okay, good. All right, so we're gonna start off because like I gotta do a full face, so it's gonna take a minute. Also, I highly appreciate all of the speculation and congratulations on my alleged engagement. I was literally just wearing a little bee ring. it had a bee, and it was just, I happened to be on this finger. I didn't even think about it. I'm not engaged, but I appreciate it. So we're gonna start off by prepping my under eyes. I'm gonna be using the Olay Ultimate Eye Cream. So if you've missed the video that I am referencing, that this is the drugstore version of, I will link it down below, or I'll pop it up in one of these if you would like to reference. But yeah, all this shit is drugstore, bro. So Olay, gotta get it even. So we're going to be implementing the Wayne Goss technique up in here, up in here. So we're gonna hydrate the ever-loving fuck out of my under eyes. So we're gonna use Olay. I haven't used Olay since like, I don't even know, I was in high school or something. So I'm gonna go in with like a couple passes. I like the color of this eye cream, by the way. It's like this pretty peach color, like very light, pretty peach. So I feel like it just kind of does a little bit of color correcting on its own. And it does feel super duper hydrating, but like not wet. Now I'm gonna go in with the CeraVe, don't know. This is the Sheer Tint Broad Spectrum SPF 30. Oh, it's got ceramides and niacinamide, fucking great. This is tinted. I definitely meant to get the untinted one because I'm using this in place of my Elta MD sunscreen, which is not tinted. So it's pretty thick and it's very tinted. This looks like a fucking foundation, dude. Smooth this all over my face. I hope the hydration comes from this. Also, you guys use a lot of sunscreen. Don't chastise people for using a lot of sunscreen. But yeah, goddamn, that's really tinted. So if you can help it, pick up the untinted version. Yeah, because I like don't even need foundation. That's annoying. It's also like, it's definitely darker than me. So I'm using all drugstore products. A lot of them are fantastic, and I'm going to explain to you the reasons that, like, obviously the video that or the makeup look that I did in that video, I use all the products that I love, you know? Like, those are products that I love, and there's a reason that I use them. I'm just gonna try to shoot this out a little bit because it's very dark. Formula feels nice though. Very hydrating. So there's a reason for that. So I wanted to give you drugstore options, but there was one comment in particular. Somebody was like, well, I only want to see a drugstore version if they're going to be like perfection, like if they're going to work exactly like the other products. And I'm like, well, there's a reason that I'm not using all drugstore products. You know what I mean? Like some of the products that I used in that video were very affordable. Anyway, I'm going to be showing you all of these products, but also explaining to you the reasons that I don't necessarily use drugstore as we go. Now I'm going to Wayne Goss underneath my eyes, and I'm going to be using the NYX Proof It Waterproof Eyeshadow Primer, which is a like very sheer. I would compare it maybe to the, like, it's a little bit similar-ish to the one from e.l.f. But anyway, so I'm going to be placing this underneath my eyes to prep for color corrector and concealer. For color corrector, underneath my eyes, and this is obviously a step that you can skip if you don't have dark circles or you don't need it, I'm going to use the LA Girl Pro Conceal in, this is in the shade Light Ivory, but it's quite light peach. For me, it's very warm. They do have regular color correctors for underneath the eyes as well. Just exploded. I use this all the time, so like, I love this product. I've been experimenting a little bit with color correctors, so I have been using different ones, but it's just like a nice light peach color. I don't like the brush though, so I'm gonna put it on my finger. I'm gonna color correct underneath my eyes with this. I'm taking it all the way up and just focusing it in the area that I have darkness. So this is a really nice color corrector, by the way. And now for my foundation. So I'm going to be replacing what I used in my original video, which was the Rare Beauty foundation. I'm going to be using the NYX Born to Glow foundation, and this is in the shade Alabaster. And this was actually recommended to me by one of you guys because you thought it was a really nice olive shade, and it is. And then for my sponge, I'm going to be using the e.l.f. concealer sponge because this is just what I use. I'm going to apply it straight to this. Way too much just came out. Use that for my whole face. I'm gonna start it on the bottom here. So this is basically just like a very glowy foundation, and it looks super duper light on me right now because that sunscreen made me look straight up tan. Just like in my other video, slowly work this around the face, really working it into the skin, because this is really just meant to kind of like sheer out, or create cohesive color around the face. Sort of like evening out the tone of my skin. I don't really care about like concealing. Plus my skin's been looking pretty nice recently, so I'm not that worried about it. And then in any areas where I think I need like a tiny bit more coverage, like right over here, I'm just gonna pick up a little bit more on the sponge. And this is a very glowy foundation, which my skin tends to be a little bit more combination, I guess, and it's obviously winter in LA. It gets really dry in the wintertime, so I really like to use hydrating products. Alright, for concealer, I'm going to use, so I actually picked up another shade of this. This is the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer in the shade Light Ivory. So I have a few shades. This is maybe a little peachy for me. I love the e.l.f. Camo concealers, but I will say that the shades are a little inconsistent. Like from the regular camo concealer to the hydrating camo concealer, it's really hard to find your shade. So if you are able to go into a store and like look at them in person, that really is best, because like fucking shopping online for this is like impossible. I've bought like 4 of them because I'm like, and they're all over the place. So that's the only thing that I would say, but I'm using this in place of the Rare Beauty concealer. And what I like about this is that it has a satin finish, so I am a fan of the formula. This might be a little bit dark. We'll see. Anyway, so I'm just going to place it here, here. It's a little bit peachy, might be a little dark, but I'm placing this in the areas where I like to brighten, just like I did in that video. For underneath my eyes, I'm going to use this little guy, which is not a beauty blender. It's actually the Ulta brand mini sponge, and I thought I would give it a shot. But just so you know, it does feel like very soft but substantial. Like it's not gonna die when you clean it, because there are a lot of, I'm just using the Morphe setting mist to rehydrate it. There are a lot of sponges where like they'll feel soft, which is my only criticism about the e.l.f. sponge is it's incredibly soft and delicate, and whenever I clean it I feel like I'm gonna break it, and I've already gone through 2, so anyway, let's blend this shit out. I feel like this color looks really nice on camera. I hope, or like with my artificial lighting, I'm hoping that it actually works, because it does look a little bit peachy. That is the one critique that I have as far as, dude, anytime I hear my upstairs neighbor stir, I'm like, please don't start the treadmill. That's my one critique of drugstore products, is that it is very hard to find olive tones, and I am fair-skinned and olive, so that is another reason that, you know, the majority of the products that I used were not drugstore. Bring this right up along the sides of my nose. I do like this little sponge. I've tried using little sponges before, I didn't really like them, but this one's pretty good. I guess this isn't really drugstore because it's from Ulta, but it's the Ulta brand, so it's cheap. I just filmed a video for Alex Talks, so I'm feeling chatty. If you don't know about my new channel, then I mean, it'll be linked down below. I think that looks really nice. So now I'm going to contour. Now this is what I'm worried about. So I'm going to be using you have no idea how much research I was doing on drugstore contour sticks. So I'm going to use the NYX Wonder Stick Highlight and Contour Stick in light medium. So it comes with a highlighting stick, which I've never used. I don't like those. And then this is the contour shade. And I'm going to use it for you, but there's a reason that I don't use drugstore contour sticks. And it's because if you compare it to my KKW Beauty contour stick, which I typically use, like, huge difference. I'm olive, So this shade is Perfection. This, I mean, it's just not gonna be right. But if you are a completely different skin tone than me, you'll be fine. What do I do? Double chin. The formula is really nice. Like it's more sheer, but the color just isn't right for me. Gotta hit little fat pockets. Have been eating better though, so not quite as much. It's annoying because I love the formula, but the colors just don't work for me. I'm also going to be using, did I say this earlier? I'm going to be using drugstore brushes. So I picked up this e.l.f. collection. It's called the Ultimate Luxe Brush Roll 19-piece brush collection. And it came, oh my god, it came in this like brush belt. So there's some face brushes in here for like foundation and stuff that I'm probably not actually. Maybe I'll use one of them to, they're kind of big. Maybe I'll use the foundation brush to like blend this out. No, I'll use this guy, fuck it. So to blend that out, I'm actually gonna be using a really tiny brush. This is from that collection, the Flawless Concealer Brush. I always think the best thing is precision. So if it's between using a brush that's too small or too big, always go for too small. So I do recommend that you watch both of these videos because I'm very in depth on that technique, but basically all I'm doing now is softening those edges. And I feel like in this lighting, this video, this color will look fine. So like I said, this is a beautiful formula. I really want to like this product a lot. The color just isn't, you know, not 100%, but if you can find a color in the NYX contour sticks, formula is great. I'm gonna just go back in with my sponge, do a little bit of blending. And then for my nose, yeah.
Sorry.
What's up?
For a moment I forgot you were filming. It sounds really loud.
That's okay, I know. I complained about you. So for my nose, or for this whole little section, I'm going to be using the Eyeshadow C brush, which is just like a little kind of like domey brush. Domey brush? Doesn't matter. So I've been focusing more on the tip of my nose recently. Just kind of like using the darker shade to push the tip back a little bit in space. Just trying to take my own advice. Padding is always best because it's going to help prevent remove. It's going to help prevent you from removing product or coverage, because swiping can, like doing this, can end up removing coverage. Duh. Is that helpful? Blend around the sides and the edges, make it seamless. So for my brow pencil, because I like to sketch out the shape first, I'm going to be using the, where did it go? Not this, what's this? Nope. Brow Ultra Slim Pencil by Maybelline. I'm going to use the shade Blonde. This is a product that I use all of the time, like all the time, it's so good. So all I'm going to do with this is kind of sketch out the overall shape of my brow, kind of like lightly fill it in. Just like that. I like to use a pencil because it's a little more precise, so that I can use this to like even out the shape of my brow. And then I can decide like if I need to go in with concealer and clean it up. But this just gives me like a really nice initial fill, and then it does have this woolly on the end, so I can brush that out. Can't remember if I used concealer in my other video, but sometimes what I do instead of concealer is I'll just use like a little bit of my foundation. I'll put it out on a paper towel, and then using this little flat brush. This is the concealer brush from that e.l.f. collection. And pick up that foundation. Just use this to kind of sharpen up the edge or clean up or even them out. We're going through this quick. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is set underneath my eyes, and I'm gonna be using the Revlon Candid Photo Ready powder. This is in the shade, this is in 01 because it's lighter than what I'm gonna be using for my face. What I'm gonna be using for my face is the CoverGirl, are they both CoverGirl? No. CoverGirl Clean Professional Loose Powder in 105, and this is like a nice pale golden shade, which I think will work well with my skin. But I do like to use a quite light powder underneath my eyes. I usually use the LC Cosmetics translucent powder. And then to set underneath my eyes, I'm going to use this big fluffy brush. This is the Fluffy Eye Blender brush from e.l.f. So I like to load up my brush, tap it off, load it up, tap it off. And then I'm gonna go in with my little sponge. Make sure this is all blended out. And then set down the sides of my nose and just set like around here in my smile lines. I basically like to use a light powder in the center of my face just to like help brighten that area. Nice and smooth. And then I'm going to use that to set the center of my face. And then I mentioned this in my other video, rather than like using a concealer to spot conceal, I like to just put a little bit, and I already have some from when I did my concealer, but a little bit of my foundation out on a paper towel. It's basically been sitting a little bit, so it's kind of like thickened up a little. And then I can take a more like precise brush. Let's use this, which is the Small Precision brush from the e.l.f. collection. Pick up a tiny bit of that, and then if I have any spots, rather than like going in with more foundation or like a heavy concealer, I'll just use a tiny bit of that foundation and blend that out. And that way I know that the colors are going to be cohesive, because it's very hard to, and that's really, well, I guess this guy. It's very hard to match your concealers and your foundations perfectly. You know, I'm actually going to use the Candid concealer, because sometimes it can make, like I kind of want them to be like slightly lighter. So I'm going to use that same brush. I'm going to use a tiny bit of the Candid powder from Revlon and just go over that powder. We'll just set that so that when we go in with our face powder, it doesn't like move all over the place or remove coverage. So now I'm going to go in with the CoverGirl powder, which like, first of all, what the fuck is... You obviously don't have to do, but pretty happy with everything so far. It looks really nice. Dude, I need to find a bronzer. Shit. Okay, so I think I know what happened. I think I assumed that I had the NYX contour palette and that I was just going to use a bronzer from that, but I can't find it. But that is what I would use. Or something from e.l.f. e.l.f. has nice bronzers. Somehow I didn't end up getting a bronzer. I don't know what's wrong with me. e.l.f. actually has a really nice bronzer palette. I'll try to link it down below. So I'm just going to do this really quick off camera, but it's just my Bare Minerals foundation powder, which is what I used in the other video. So annoying. Actually, I guess I'll show it. Because I'm going to be using one of these brushes. So I'm actually going to use this brush, which is the highlighting brush. This is the shade Golden Beige 13. I like to, you know, swirl it off in the cap. Just basically warm up the outer perimeter of my face. Sorry about that, guys. I knew I would forget something. And for my cheekbones, I like to start off where I contoured and then kind of just blend upward. Alright, well, that's annoying. So now I'm going to go in with blush. So this is OG for me. And I remember, well, let me just tell you what it is first. So it's Milani Luminoso. This was like the blush when I first started doing my makeup, like first started getting into makeup. And then I remember, I mean, it's a beautiful formula. It's absolutely stunning. And I love a peach. And I do have other drugstore blushes that I use, but I was like, ooh, throwback. So let's do Luminoso. But I remember listening to Katie, formerly known as Lustrelux, and she was like, they changed the formula, and I honestly don't remember what the original Luminoso was like. So anyway, still beautiful. That's what we're going to use, a stunning peach color. And I'm going to be using the e.l.f. blush brush to apply this. And I like to start up on the top of my cheekbones. So here's the one thing that I will say about these. To set my face. I'm going to set my face using the Morphe Continuous Mist Setting Spray. I will say I really do like this because it's similar-ish if you're looking for like a drugstore dupe to the Hourglass Soft Focus Setting Spray, but it's very intense in scent, which I'm not the biggest fan of. And kind of a similar thing, if you use too much, it can make you look like very dewy, so just a quick... Oh, I didn't do my inner corner. All right, I'm going to use this tiny, Small Precision brush and highlight my inner corner with that e.l.f. highlighter. Just right there. Just a little glow. I may have gone a little hard on the blush, but I'm not mad at it. Now I'm gonna set my brows, which I do with the Dr. Bronner soap. Nothing's changed. I do, cool. All right, so the e.l.f. kit, brush kit, came with a little, like a brow brush and a spoolie. So I'm gonna be using my Dr. Bronner's soap because that's, I mean, you can get that anywhere. And I'm gonna spritz it with my Morphe spray. And I'm just going to brush up my brow hairs. So brush them up and out. This will set them. This is actually, I actually prefer spoolies that are about this size because they're perfect for lifting your brows. And then while I'm waiting for that to set before I go and finish my brows off, I'm gonna do my lips. My go-to lip liner for the longest time was, and still sometimes is, the NYX Lip Pencil in Nude Beige. Line and overline, just slightly. This is just warmer, but I think it's gonna look really nicely with the warmth that I have in my skin, especially with that blush. Isn't that a nice color? Very natural. And then I'm going to finish off the lips with my Aquaphor Healing Ointment like I did in the other video because you can get this anywhere. Okay, and then to finish off the brows, I'm going to be using the NYX Lift and Snatch Brow Tint Pens. I got two colors because I wasn't entirely sure. I got blonde and then also